And good afternoon, everyone. We're going to start the webinar now, and I'd like to welcome you to how to build confidence as a speaker and as a presenter or as a trainer. How to build more confidence so the audience sees you as being confident, knowing your topic, really able to respond to questions accordingly, and you just genuinely and authentically across your material, and you deliver with the right amount of passion and the right amount of emotion. So that's what this webinar is about, helping you become more confident as a presenter, speaker or trainer. Most of you know me, but there are a few names that I don't recognise. So Peter Dew is my name, and I'm based in Perth. I'm a public speaking trainer and coach and a keynote speaker, and I travel Australia wide, and my passion is helping people have the confidence and the effectiveness to stand up and get their message across whenever they want to. There's so many people out there that have got valuable things to say, should put their hand up and play a bigger game, but just occasionally hold back because of that fear or that nerves or that uncertainty around their public speaking. Am I doing it right? So this one is focusing on one little aspect, and it's about confidence. My background is as a person who stutters, and much of my life was avoiding public speaking, and indeed when I did do speaking or public speaking or job interviews, I did it with a great lack of confidence, a really overwhelming lack of confidence. So I really struggled with my presentations, with my public speaking, and the confidence was the big issue. The confidence was the big issue. How we can interact with this webinar? Please ask questions as we go. We can do that by raising your hand. You have a little toolbar where you put your hand up, and I will open up your microphone. If you don't want me to open up your microphone at any stage, just type in a question and it'll appear in the dialog box, and I'll respond to that accordingly. It could be that the question is something I'm going to answer later on, in which case I may defer. Please interact. Please take notes and think of some of the situations that maybe I describe. Think, how do they apply to you in your situation as a speaker, trainer, presenter, as a person who wants to be more confident in their communication skills? So do take notes. Please participate via questions, or I can open up your microphone, and do think, how can I apply this data, this information to myself? In fact, questions are really important, and ask questions anytime, but I will also pause, and you'll see this little screen every now and then where there'll be a question and answer icon, and that means I'm going to stop deliberately for Q&A. But don't wait for this Q&A icon. At any stage to ask a question. I attended a seminar in Perth last night run by Michael Grinder at the National Speakers Association, and I've heard Michael say this before. Michael says the number one barrier that will hold you or me or anyone back in our speaking, training and presentations is our own self-belief. So we doubt our ability, we doubt our competence. Are we worthy to get before that audience? Do we have sufficient knowledge? And that is the biggest single barrier that prevents us from maybe having the impact, from playing a bigger game that we know we could. And building confidence will help you address some of these barriers. Right at the outset, I'm talking about confidence. This webinar is about building confidence. I want to dispel the myth that confidence means that I have no fear of speaking, I have no nerves, and I am anxiety-free. That is not what confidence is. Some people who speak have no fear, have no nerves, and have no anxiety, and they come across very sloppily, and the audience, in fact, thinks they're verbose, foot in the mouth, all types of things, everything but confidence. And the connection that they have with the audience is less than the person who is quietly confident, quietly assured, but still has that anxiety, those nerves and that fear. Those of you who've been on other webinars around overcoming nerves will know that getting rid of nerves is one of the things I tell you will never happen. Being free of nerves or free of anxiety is not part of public speaking. Rather, it's about controlling those nerves. So if you can control those nerves, that is indeed part of being confident. 7 steps, 7 strategies I'll share with you today. There'll be more, but it's about knowing your topic, knowing your audience, knowing your venue, learning to control those nerves, not get rid of the nerves, understanding the principle of reframing, learn to be genuine and authentic, and also be congruent with your message. If you are in line and congruent with your message, and that'll just give you the confidence to go out there and speak on something contentious, on something new, on something innovative, because you will live that message. So I'm going to go through these one by one. First one is know your topic well. If you know your topic well, you will appear really confident, even if you are nervous. So what do I mean by know your topic well? Can you present without notes? Have you got enough confidence and enough knowledge of your topic to be able to deliver a half hour, a 1 hour, a 90-minute keynote, a 30-minute Q&A session without the need for notes? Because if you can, and I deliver my one-day workshops and all my seminars and all my keynotes without notes, you appear really confident. And I am confident because I know my content. Can you respond to questions? Difficult questions. Let's say you're speaking on something that's not popular amongst the audience, and you know what questions you're going to get. Those angry questions, those left field questions, those contentious questions. Are you ready to respond to them? Have you anticipated the questions that are going to be asked? Have you got your buckets full of different answers that you can pull out depending on where the question comes from? If you are good at responding questions, if you know your topic well so that you don't get thrown by a left field, an unusual, an out of scope question, then you will look really confident. And you're not going to know the answer to everything, and every now and then someone in the room will come across with a wonderful question that you just don't know about. Do you know where to get the extra information? And that will help you be confident. Most leaders that I know can't know everything. I worked as a medical scientist for 30 years. There's so many pathology tests, so many blood tests, so many microbiological tests, so much hematology tests, that when I get some abnormal results back that I want to give to the doctor and he asks me, well, what does this mean, or what should I do next, or what's the diagnosis? I don't have all those answers all the time, but I know where to go. I know where to go. I'd have an expert or a guru in each particular area of pathology, and I just give them a call. So when I'm presenting, if that really good question comes that I don't have the answer, I know how to get back to them, and that gives me great confidence. And have good data, have good information, have good statistics. If people question you or they want to know where is your source of information from. Australian Bureau of Statistics, World Health Organization, according to the Family Planning Association of West Australia, according to the Australian Tax Office, according to the Small Business Corporation of West Australia, 90% of small businesses will fail in the first 5 years. If you've got that good data that underpins your position, your logic, your strategy, then you can be confident. even with your nerves and your anxiety, and yes, you're in front of 100 people now speaking about some new models for preparing students to sit their HSE or their tertiary entrance exam or their university entrance exams, but you've got the data, so you can have that confidence. With your nerves, with your anxiety, you can be confident in the content that you're delivering. If you know your topic well, you will be able to be flexible with time, especially if for some reason the program starts late, or for some reason the next speaker doesn't turn up and they want you to speak longer. So you need to have the confidence that you know your topic well and that you can then change your material to be shorter, to be longer, to fill gaps, to shrink, to bring the program back on time, especially if you're speaking at a conference or there's several speakers and you're one of 3 speakers and the first 2 speakers have created a bit of a blowout in the schedule and you just shorten your material by that 5 or 10 minutes. That helps to bring everyone back. When you know your topic to that extent across those areas, you can be confident and you look confident. You look confident to the audience. So know your topic well. When you put all that together, what that means is you will be able to plug and play. And those of you who've been to my workshops know that I use this terminology. What that means is no matter what happens, you can deliver your material. Time gets stretched, no problem. Time gets shrunken. You have less time, no problem. Power goes off so you can't use PowerPoint, no problem. More people turn up than you expected, no problem. It's about knowing your material and being confident in your content so that you can appear and inwardly also be confident. I know my stuff. I'm ready to go here. I'm still quite nervous, but I know my stuff well enough to deliver the content. That is plug and play. That is knowing your topic, knowing your material so well that you appear really confidently. Any questions? I'm just going to pause for a moment and just grab a drink of water, but any questions while I pause? Okay. And please don't wait for these Q&A slides. If I say something that you want to know more about, then please do type in the question. And remember, the stuff, the information I've just mentioned, apply it to your own situation. Do you know your content well enough to be able to deliver in 15 minutes less than you had planned and had prepared, or 15 minutes longer because the speaker does not turn up? And I have a question, and one of the questions, the question is, I feel bad if I don't give all the information that I'd planned to do. And that could be that the time's short, so you had more information and you just wanted to give out a little bit more, but for some reason something happens and you cut short. Or maybe the questions are so good and you delve a little bit deeper and you spend more time on questions and then let a little bit of content fall off the wayside. And yes, always ask for email addresses and send a follow-up. The other thing that I do, and I'll do with this webinar to all the people who are on the webinar, I will make these slides available, and I'm also recording the webinar, which means you can view it later on if you want to go over something. So having a website where there's further information, and I was at a workshop yesterday with someone from the Public Transport Authority in West Australia. They do recruitment and they speak to 100 people that potentially will be bus drivers, train drivers, etc. And they give as much as they can, but they can't give everything. And what they say is if you really seriously want a job within the Public Transport Authority of Western Australia, go to the website and go through the checklist one by one. So yes, you can follow up, you can have additional information. The main thing, Amanda, after they've walked away from your presentation, they've got that big take-home message, that big desire and the big why it matters to me, and then they know where to get the further information. And that's a great backup if something goes wrong and you don't deliver everything you had planned. Sometimes I don't deliver everything that I planned also, and that's because my mind goes blank or I have forgotten, but I've always got the backup that people can go to the notes or they can go to my website and get additional information. So great question. The second step that I had on those 7 steps was know your audience and their needs. Do a pre-workshop questionnaire. When I do in-house organisations, I will send out a pre-workshop questionnaire. What difficulties do you have in public speaking? What are some situations where you found it hard? And what do you want to get from me? If I could teach you anything in a one-day workshop, what would that be? And that helps me know what my audience needs are by doing a pre-workshop questionnaire. Do your research. Google. Find out a little bit more about the organisation. The research could be read their annual report, look at that organisation's mission, what are the values, talk to people, talk to HR. I'm coming in to present to these people as the HR or the training and development officer. What do you want me to focus on? That's about doing your research. The ultimate way, of course, is walking in your audience's shoes. And I quote that North American saying, that North American native Indian saying, you need to walk 30 moons in your enemy's moccasins before you understand them. So it's about knowing your audience and what their needs are and what they want. Yes, you may have brilliant content that you're passionate about and you think the whole world needs to know, but if the audience is not of that mindset, then you really have to understand why they're hurting or what they need. I read something recently which I guess contradicts a little bit of what I've just said. Henry Ford said, the maker of the Ford motor car and also famous for putting in that production, that assembly line, Henry Ford said, if I made what the people wanted, if I gave people what they wanted, I'd give them faster horses. Because when Henry Ford started to mass produce cars, the perception was that nobody wanted a car and only the rich people could afford a car, and a car was made one at a time. So to mass produce cars, Henry Ford said, if I gave them what they wanted, they'd have got faster horses. So he didn't give them what they wanted, he gave them what he thought they needed, and of course they followed. That's not what I'd do as a speaker. I would find out what they do want, but in some cases when you're moving a population to another way of thinking around health or around education or around alcohol and drug abuse, you may in fact confront them and give them information that they don't necessarily like or want. But you need to understand as much as you can by walking in their shoes, doing your research, talk to other people and find out. So know your audience inside out. There's a wonderful YouTube video on Barack Obama's visit to England 18 months ago now, and he stands up to propose a toast to the Queen, and the band plays the British national anthem, starts to play in the background, and he's unaware that this is the British national anthem and continues to raise his glass and propose a toast to His Majesty the Queen. And after a while he notices that no one else is participating and everyone's standing silent listening to God Save the Queen, the British national anthem. He didn't know his audience very well. It's a little bit of a faux pas. It's a bit cringeworthy. It's on YouTube. It's only a 60-second. Not entirely his fault. I'm not sure whether he started to propose the toast and the band started to strike up after, but either way, it is a little bit cringeworthy, and he should have recognised straight away, whoops, this is the British national anthem. I shall remain silent and solemn as we would when the American national anthem was being played. Know your audience. So when you walk in their shoes, or when you know the audience, or when you do the questions, try and work out what's in it for me as your audience member, not what's in it for you, the presenter. This is marketing. What does your audience want? And we talk about the pain and the pleasure continuum. Where's your audience hurting? What are their problems? What are their difficulties? Or on the pleasure side of things, we talk about what goals do they want to achieve? What aspects of their life do they want to improve? Where do they want to get to? Alleviating pain is apparently the stronger motivator than creating pleasure. So as you're walking in your audience's footsteps, as you're doing your pre-workshop questionnaire, as you're doing your research, try and understand what is the problem that your message, that your information solves. And if it doesn't solve any problems, in other words, how does it help them reach a goal, an aspiration, a need that they want to achieve? Another way of conceptualizing that is, think of your audience. What is keeping them up at night? What are they worrying about? What's causing them nightmares? That's their pain. Understand that. Or what are they dreaming about during the day? Overseas trips, scoring a high mark in their university entrance exams, being voted Employee of the Year, retiring with a good retirement income. Or is it the pain of not wanting to struggle on the pension? Or is it the pleasure of retiring on a good income? Which one's the bigger motivator? You need to understand that. And it's about getting across all of your audience issues. When you're across your audience issues, you know your audience, you look really confident. You know where the audience is hurting. You don't have to worry about your nerves, your anxiety, because your message is now tailored to meet what the audience wants, whether it's solving their problem or helping them reach a goal. You look confident. You're doing the right thing and you're walking in their footsteps. So how do you know my dreams, or how do you know what keeps me up at night? You need to understand me. You need to talk to me. You need to walk in my footsteps. I mentioned in my introduction that I'm a person who stutters, and I do a little bit of lecturing for speech pathology in both Curtin University and also Edith Cowan University. One of the assignments the second year speech pathology students have to do when they're doing the stuttering unit, because speech pathologists are generally the people who treat stuttering, one of the assignments they have to do is they have to pair up, and for a day they've got to go around the campus. One of them has to stutter every time they speak. So when they go and order their lunch, when they go to the library, they must stutter. The other person then gives them feedback. The following day they swap roles. The other speech pathology students does the voluntary or the purposeful stuttering, the deliberate stuttering, and the other person gives them feedback. They describe that one day of being a person who stutters in the lecture, in their everyday life, on the campus, as one of the most embarrassing, frustrating, and really difficult and awkward things to do. But it gives them a wonderful appreciation of what it's like to be a person who stutters, and when they now treat children and adults who stutter, they understand. They understand the frustration, they understand the anxiety, they understand the humiliation and the audience reaction when you go up to a shop and you stutter. How do you know my dreams? How do you know what keeps me up at night? How do you know your audience's dreams? How do you know where they're struggling? Walk in their footsteps, find out. Use the right language for your audience. Use the right language. Different audiences need different languages. When I work with financial planners, I use different language, different jargon, and I can be confident. When I'm working with a group for the first time and I don't have their language, I don't have their jargon, I don't have their acronyms, then I feel less confident because I'm clearly an outsider. I mentioned Michael Grinder's talk last night, and he's an American and he's doing a tour of Australia at the moment. Michael Grinder spoke about our new sports stadium being built at Burswood. He spoke about our recent election and he spoke about the mining sector. And he was speaking to a general population group of West Australians. So this gentleman had taken the time to use the right language and to understand the way we speak, the projects that are happening. So he came across confidently and he came across using our language. Use the language that your audience can understand, and you may have to change your language. You may have to modify your language depending on the audience. This will make you look really confident. If you're worried you might say the wrong thing, use the wrong acronym, the wrong jargon, then you will internally be less confident. I haven't done enough homework. I don't understand this audience all that well. Yeah, I'm not very confident about this. Use the right language. If you know your audience, you will appear really confidently. The third area of preparation would be to know your venue. And if you're speaking at the same venue all the time, you have a training room in-house, then this is less applicable. But I know some of you go out and speak to schools. I go around and speak in all places around Australia. I've just come back from Swan Hill on the Victorian New South Wales border, a really beautiful place overlooking the Murray River. Prior to that, I was in Grafton, and then prior to that, Coffs Harbour. Each of those is different venues, and I really need to know about the venue. The sound system. Is there going to be a sound system? What sort of microphone? Or for me, and generally I don't use a sound system unless I'm presenting to large groups, my voice will carry, but there were some really big council chambers that I was presenting in within Swan Hill. Did my voice reach the back? Yes, it did. I found out beforehand. There was a gentleman there who helped me set up. He stood down the back. He said loud and clear. I said, if there's a lot of background noise and cluttering, because I was presenting to high school kids, he said, yes, I can still hear you. Are you going to use PowerPoint? Where's the data projector? Is it in the roof, or is it one you have to walk around? Have you got room to get in front of the table where the PowerPoint projector's on? Are you using an Apple Mac or are you using a PC? Have you got the right adapters? Is there a stage or the platform? How wide's the platform? How far can you walk forward before you're in the front row's personal space? Are there any steps on the stage? I also tell the story of the musician Jimmy Buffett, who performed in Australia about 12 months ago and fell off the stage in Sydney. Fell off the stage and broke his leg, ended up in hospital. Just didn't do enough preparation. The stage wasn't as wide or as deep as he was normally used to, and was high up and fell over the edge and broke his leg. It's about understanding the stage and the platform, the lighting. Are there any positions you have to worry about? That you'll be in the shadows. The seating. feel free to go and sit in some of the seminar seats to get a view from the audience's perspective, get a bird's eye view of what it's like for them when they're looking at the speaker. So when you're on the stage, you already know how large or how small you look. You already know that if you move to the left or the right, there's some sort of column or a pole holding up the roof that obstructs that part of the organisation's, the venue's view, the audience's view. One person said that he presented at a big seminar and he walked on to present, and then they turned on the lights and they were video projecting him onto big side screens, and he said he couldn't see anything. And I asked him, were you aware that they were going to do this? He said, no, I just went on, I didn't ask. Did you go there earlier and find your anchor points so that when you were blinded by the light, you still knew where to look? 6 inches to the right, I get the left row. 6 inches to the left, and then I get the right row. When I raise my head and see where the data projector's coming out, that is about a foot above the back audience row. He said no, he didn't do any of that. He now understands that he could have got to the venue and compensated for much of the problems he had. If you walk into a room, a venue full of people, it's almost like they own that venue, and then you as the speaker have to wrestle control back. There was about 80 people in the room last night, and Michael Grinder was first there. And as I walked in, he was there waiting to greet people, a smile, a nod and a few handshakes. He owned that venue. He had some flip charts already on the wall, already prepared. It was his venue. Know your venue, own your venue, make the venue yours. In fact, because I travel a lot, I have a checklist that I send out, that I email to people before and ask them, where is the data projector? What is the size of the room? Are we in theatre style? Are we in U-shape? Or are we in boardroom style? And then I give them my preference. Can you get rid of the boardroom and go into theatre style with no tables? 80% of the time they can, occasionally they can't. So I now have to reframe how I'm going to do my workshop, because I'm going to be constrained by the boardroom table. Real common sense, but so many people don't pay this attention to detail. So know your venue. Phone up. Even if you can't get there early, phone up, find out about it, send them your checklist, your email, and make sure they've got pens or they've got flip charts or whiteboards, or you're bringing your own pens, because you can't rely on the pens that people provide sometimes with training rooms. This is your time to ask questions. I'm going to have a quick drink of water, and I'd be interested for you to reflect on any of your presentations, any of your in the past, or anything coming up. Bearing in mind, those of you who do in-house training, your venue will be fairly well the same. No questions. Okay. So you've got your topic pretty well. You know it. You can confidently respond to questions. You can confidently deliver it without notes. I mean, you're still nervous. It's a big presentation. It's important. There's 250 people in the room. So you're nervous, but you know your content really well. You can feel confident about that. And you know your audience. You know what the audience wants to get away. You've got your topic so you can plug and play. You've got your audience so you know where they're hurting or what they want to aspire to. And you know the venue well, so well that anything could go wrong, but you'd still be able to deliver. So how can you control some nerves? How can you control some of these nerves? Not eliminate, but it is an important gig. It's an important presentation, and I don't want you to be so nervous that you start to freeze. So it's not being free of nerves, but it's being in control of your nerves. And I use a wonderful analogy about wild horses. Some of you may have heard it. If you are presenting, or you're a speaker or you're a trainer, think of your nerves, your anxiety, think of those as wild horses out of control running through the outback of Australia. And they're running with lots of energy, and the wind is flowing in their manes, and they're just so energetic, and they're completely out of control. The wild brumbies were always hard to catch, always had a mind of their own. Don't shoot them. Instead, learn to harness them, learn to control them, and they will take you for the ride of your life. A lot of the racing horses, a lot of the purebreds, in fact, come from the brumbies, come from those wild horses that have been tamed and controlled, but the energy is still there. So don't shoot your nerves. Don't try and get nerve free. Instead, recognize they have a role and harness those nerves, and they will take you on the ride of your life. How can you control nerves? Learn to relax. Deep breathing. Deep breathing is the lower part of your diaphragm. There's a way you can tell how you're breathing. You put one hand around your belly button parallel to the ground, and the other hand cross over and put it on your shoulder. If you are deep breathing as you're speaking, your hand on your belly button will move in and out. If you're shallow breathing, then your hand on your shoulder will rise up and down. If I ask you, and this comes from Michael Grinder, if I ask you to keep your hands where they are and think about your favourite meal and your favourite vacation, and in fact having a wonderful meal on a wonderful vacation, your hand down below should be the one that naturally moves in and out. I now want you to think about your worst vacation and the most horrible meal that you had, and things were just diabolical and service was shocking, the holiday was a waste of money. You'll probably find that you'll move into a more shallow breathing. So learn to relax, whether it is deep breathing, whether it's progressively tensing and relaxing your muscles, whether it's being aware of your mouth is tense and you need to do a quick relax. Visualization. Part of my getting ready and knowing my venue and sitting in some of the auditorium seats and walking on the platform just to check that everything's okay, to check that I'm not going to walk off the platform and break my leg. Part of that is also visualizing the audience and visualizing the performance and visualizing the questions and moving my body and responding to questions so that I'm almost playing my presentation over in my mind even though the room is empty. Mindfulness, positive affirmations. Work out which tools, and I've spoken about yoga in my workshops and also meditation, and you can do 30-second meditations. You can do 5-second yoga exercises. Make your tools quick and easily available. So what I mean is, as they're about to introduce the next speaker, you know your content, you know your audience, you know your venue, but you notice that you're getting a little bit more nervous. What's that quick relaxation tool that you can call upon and instantly bring yourself down a couple of notches in terms of your nervousness, your anxiety, your fear, your worry? You'll look really confident if you know how to relax. You look very confident if you take the time to breathe and pause during your presentation. The difference between deep breathing that I described earlier and shallow breathing is shallow breathing provides less oxygen to the brain. So you're in front of 150 people and you're speaking and presenting and maybe taking questions. Which organ of the body do you need to function at its peak performance other than your mouth, other than your lips, other than your vocal apparatus? It's the brain. The brain is the answer that the brain is the organ that you need. And why at this time that you need your brain most, you cut off the oxygen. Why is it that when you need your brain the most, the petrol supply, the oxygen from breathing, you decide to deprive your brain of that? So that's why deep breathing versus shallow breathing is so important. You need to learn to control your nerves, and that'll help you extensively in looking confident and being confident, but still having nerves. The fifth thing is knowing how to reframe, and the reframe is often helpful around nerves, but you can use it for other things. But I'm going to give you 3 alternative reframes. I've just got a question about affirmations. So positive affirmations are really important. I run Susan Jeffers, Dr. Susan Jeffers' Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway workshops. It's probably the #1 selling self-help book over the last 25 years. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. One of the things that Susan Jeffers talks about is the use of affirmations, and it goes back a long way. Affirmations are those positive things that you say to yourself. You can have self-affirmations. I wake up many mornings and say, I'm excited, I'm energized, and I'm ready to go. I'm excited, I'm energized, and I'm ready to go. Other affirmations are that if it's to be, it's up to me, or I am in control of my own future, or whether I think I can or whether I think I can't, I'm usually right. So start to think positive. The questions relating to getting feedback from the audience and using that as positive affirmation. So when someone in the audience comes up to you and says, wow, I really liked what you did, or you get that email later on that says, you're an inspirational speaker, those tips to help me gain a job, those tips for job interview skills are really helpful. Use those as affirmations. And what you know is that people are getting your message, and you are making a difference with your nerves, with your anxiety, but you're looking confident to the people, to the audience. And that's who matters. That's who matters. It's not about you. It's not about you and your message. It's about the audience and them receiving the information they need to move to a better place. So reframe. I'm going to show you 3 reframes that'll help you in presentations, in public speaking. And they are: get rid of nerves. And I don't mean get rid of nerves. What I mean is replace the nerves with excitement. So you're about to speak at the biggest gig you've ever spoken in front of, and there's 150 people in the room. Are you nervous or are you excited? It doesn't really matter. It's the same physiological, it's the same biochemical reaction. Your excitement results in your heart pounding, your blood vessels becoming smaller, vasoconstricting, and the blood flowing through and adrenaline flowing, and your palms are sweaty and you are excited. You're nervous, it's the same physiological reaction. So just swap your nerves, replace them with excitement. Reframe it. I'm excited to be here as your heart goes pounding out of your chest. I'm really excited to be here. And put a smile on your face. That's the first reframe. You're excited. The second reframe is, in fact, get rid of public speaking. Have a conversation with the people in the room, all 150 of them. The way these two people are speaking here, when they get up before an audience of 10, 20, 30 people, is exactly how they should speak in front of that 150 people. So have a conversation. Have a chat with the people in the room one at a time. Get rid of public speaking. Just have that conversation. That's reframe number 2. You can now remove public speaking from your vocabulary and talk to the people in the room one at a time, one-on-one, and share your knowledge, your passion, your inspiration that you know will help them overcome a problem or move to a better place in their life. Just have a conversation. Be respectful to your audience. This reframe works really well when I'm working with Asians, and the Chinese and the Asian culture have a very respectful culture. They're very respectful to their elders. They look after their elders. They would always want to do their best. They wouldn't want to be seen as disrespectful. If you're nervous, if you're anxious, then that is in some way a state of self. Nerves is a state of self. Some people say it's a state of selfishness. So if you're nervous and you're anxious, that means you're taking some of your energy that you're focusing on yourself, your nerves, your anxiety, you're focusing on that, and you're stealing some of your energy from the audience. You may have heard the saying before, you need to be 100% present for the audience. Your role is 100% to be there for the audience, to serve and to give the audience the information that they need. If you are nervous to the extent that you focus on those nerves, then you are robbing from the audience, and that is not very respectful. Not sure how that works for some of you. And the Chinese like to visualize as well. So what I say is leave your nerves off to the side. In the center stage, create a zone of confidence. Walk into that zone of confidence. Give the audience 100% of your message, your enthusiasm, and then walk out when you're finished and pick up your nerves and your anxiety when you leave. Reframing, really powerful. Any questions and answers at this stage? A pause once again. My last statement. And it goes back to this slide, my last statement. Be 100% present for the audience. So create a zone of confidence and imagine it, visualize it. You can even draw it. You can even put, like a sticky cross on the carpet, on the floor that no one else will know. Create that zone of confidence in the middle of the room. And then when you walk into that zone of confidence, you are now 100% present for the audience. You do not focus on your internal nerves or your internal anxiety. You focus on being just present for the audience. When you leave, you can walk out of your zone of confidence, literally and metaphorically. You can move out and pick up your bag of nerves, your bag of anxiety, and you can take them with you. Perhaps not word for word, Amanda, but create that zone of confidence on the floor and walk into it, step into it, and don't be fake, just be present for the audience. Brilliant. Moving on, a couple more to go, a couple more strategies. Number 6, find your genuine and authentic self as a presenter. So as you walk into your zone of confidence, it's not a zone of fakeness. It's not a zone of put a plum in my mouth and stand upright and be someone different. It is in fact those two people that I showed you earlier having a chat one-on-one, but you're now having a chat one-to-many, 1 to 150, having a conversation. So as you walk into your zone of confidence, you must also bring your genuine and authentic self. If you do put the plum in your mouth and you stand more upright and you start to deliver plastic, perfect, rehearsed material, and then we have a cup of tea with you or we have a chat with you at the end of the seminar, we're going to wonder who is the real you, because who we are now having a chat one-on-one as we ask you questions or we're having a cup of tea was not the person who you took to the platform. Honesty is the #1 trait that is admired by workers around Australia in their leaders, in their managers. The honest leader, honesty supersedes intelligence, it supersedes product knowledge, it supersedes problem-solving skills. Those managers, those leaders that are honest, gain the greatest respect from their workers. And I think that's the same for speakers and trainers. So part of being honest is revealing your own struggle, revealing your own insecurities, revealing your own challenges, your journey. That's the authentic and genuine you. Find your genuine and authentic self. That is the only person you take to the platform. So do you pass the test? Do you come across as the genuine and the authentic person? Can you check off the checklist? Can you tick off the checklist? How are you going to show your audience that you're genuine and authentic? Is it a performance? Are you bringing in some body language or gestures, or are you using language that you wouldn't ordinarily use? Are you genuine and are you authentic? The Aboriginal people, they talk about yarning, and we have a yarn as well. It's in the Australian language. We like to yarn. Yarn is just having a chat. Stand in front of your audience, give them some powerful information through your stories, through your yarning, and just be the genuine, authentic you. Be congruent with your message. Does everything line up? Are you the time management guru who starts on time and finishes on time, or do you start a little bit late? The financial planner who he himself is perhaps driving a very flash, expensive car, and yet is giving you advice on your financial future, and big expensive cars is probably not where you invest your money. It's just, are you in line with what you're saying? Are you congruent? Are you consistent? Are you not only talking the talk, but do you walk the talk? I talk to people about how often do you stand up and speak. You need to get on your feet once a week. You can't speak occasionally, once a month or 4 or 5 times a year or once in a blue moon, and hope to become confident. This webinar is about being more confident. You need to speak once a week. You've got to create an opportunity. Maybe at work, it may be outside of work. You may have to volunteer to take on a role within one of your clubs, your sporting clubs, or one of your service clubs. You just need to speak. And they say, so Peter, as you were doing your journey, how often did you speak? I joined 3 Toastmasters clubs, so that was 3 times a week. I also went to my weekly Speakeasy Association, my self-help group for people who stutter. And with my work, I used to speak often once or twice a week as well. So I was speaking on average 4 to 5 times a week over a 10-year period. And I'm asking you to speak once a week. So it's fair to say that I am congruent and I am in line. I'm consistent with my message. Now, I did say at least once a week. I didn't say you can't do more than once a week. You can do as many times as you want. In fact, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And Tony Robbins, Awaken the Giant Within, did state that repetition is the mother of skill. If you're congruent, if you're in line, if you're consistent, if you're walking the talk, you don't have to worry about being seen as just a spruiker. He's not consistent. And you know the audience will pick that up if you're a charlatan, if you're really not in sync or in line with what you're saying, and your confidence will take a dive. Sometimes as government workers, you need to go out and roll out policies and speak on particular topics that maybe you don't think are necessarily all that important. Can I suggest that if you do, maybe you're not coming across as congruent as with your message as you should. The body language, as someone says, this is an open discussion and you're safe and I want all your feedback. Who's going to go first? Probably no one's going to go first because my voice and my arms were folded in front of me, although you couldn't see that. You know, it's not really an open discussion, and as a boss, I'm really telling you what to do. Is your message, is your body language, is what you do, your brand as a person, as a presenter, as a trainer, is your brand consistent with the message you're telling people to do? That'll give you great confidence. That will give you great confidence. Next steps. Take a moment to reflect on what the webinar has covered in the 7 areas that you can work on to become more confident. You don't need to do all of them. All of them will add to your level of confidence, another layer. Just another piece of resilience. So if you do get a hard question, you can confidently answer it because you've done your preparation and you know your audience. It was Albert Einstein who said, insanity is defined as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. So take a moment and jot down, what are you going to do to make you more confident, to make you more ready, to make you appear more confident, and in fact be more confident within yourself the next time you speak, present, train. Just take a moment to jot that down. And of course ask any questions also. So as you're jotting down your next steps or the key takeaways from today, what are your next steps? And any last questions? While you're coming up with any last questions, just to let you know, this is on my website, peterdew.com.au, upcoming workshops. I've done a big stint over east in Bendigo and Swan Hill and Grafton and Coffs Harbour and also the East Gippsland and Melbourne and Sydney. So I've got a fair bit happening in Perth and also Bunbury. You will find that schedule. It's also assertive communication skills that my wife runs regularly. So if we can be of any use, please do let us know. Not only do we run those open workshops, but most of the work I do is now in-house. So if your organisation, your department would value a half-day, a full-day workshop, then by all means contact us. We can design something to meet your needs. Further information, that's my email, there's my website. You can follow me or like me on Facebook because I do put a lot of tips, and this webinar, the recording, will probably be posted on Facebook from where you can watch it, or also on my website. Any last questions? And it's just gone 4 o'clock. Gee whiz, I must have done some preparation to be able to end at 4 o'clock. Any last questions?